Hello again and welcome to Pearl Magazine. Just last month, Hong Kong hosted several art fairs, the most well-known of which is Art Basel, which returned to pre-pandemic scale with 242 galleries from around the world participating and drawing 75,000 visitors over its 3 days. Pearl Magazine dropped by to take a look. Probably the biggest draw for tourists in March were the art fairs, which saw people from around the world flying into Hong Kong, especially for Art Basel.
Well, first of all, the show is 37% bigger than last year. So we had a lot of the participants returning to the shows, especially from outside of the region. It's been quite a few years that we haven't really seen the international, galleries and attendance, returning in full force to Hong Kong.
Galleries were pleased with the crowd as well, noting that the market appears to be bouncing back, although art has generally been resilient.
The caliber of collectors coming to visit have been really high. They've come from all over Asia and also beyond. Art collectors, private collectors, but also museums and institutions. We've had a few really great sales, including a painting by de Kooning that was asking 9 million, and then a Philip Guston from 1978 for 8.5. This Ed Clark behind me was sold as well.
Elaine represents a large international gallery that has been participating in the fair since its inception in 2013 and hasn't missed an event even during COVID. This year, art patrons and private collectors from 72 countries attended the show, as well as representatives of more than 100 museums and foundations from across the globe. Art Basel isn't just about selling art. It's also about meeting people and institutions so galleries can expand their reach globally.
So that's my expectation, to meet those, variety of people from galleries, institutions, museums, and private collectors, and so on. We are getting a lot of inquiries from the museum about collecting the work, but at the same time showing. And not only the museums, the gallery too. It's very important to meet a gallery from all over the world.
Tomoko Ashikawa represents a gallery in Tokyo. This is their first time to participate.
It's my dream to be part of it. The artist that I'm showing, Fuyuhiko Takata, is showing his work for the first time in Hong Kong. So he is also expecting to have opportunities.
Now, how important is it when you sell at Art Basel? Does it elevate the artist in any way?
Yes, because it's Art Basel. But also, like I said, there are very high quality audiences here, and then high quality, museum and institution people here. So we actually sold a very, good private collector and then foundation and institution. So that definitely, elevates his career into the next step.
Digital media, such as video, is increasing. And Tomoko says she wanted to feature an artist who is pushing the boundaries of art.
Both works questions the notion of masculinity and power in a very playful way. And there's also this reference to very famous performance by Yoko Ono in the 60s titled Cut Piece. So he's trying to deconstruct the masculinity in a very playful way, working with contemporary artists and then making the history together. And I would like to be a part of it. So it's very important to show my artist in the international scene for the international audience.
According to Angel Siang Le, director of Art Basel Hong Kong, they're seeing a new demographic of collectors these days.
I see a lot more younger collectors not only visiting the shows, but very much engaging with the galleries, engaging with the artists, and also outside of the fairs, engaging with the museums. Basically, from 20 to 30s, their spending power is increasing. A lot of them are already very much connected to contemporary art and contemporary artists. So I think that this younger generation, they are also very experimental and open-minded.
And younger artists are also pushing boundaries to solve problems and reflect the world we live in.
What is this building exactly?
Every time I play the game, I challenge myself to make something different. And this time, I give myself a task that, why don't you build an unusual architecture in the game?
Artist Mac 2 creates her work in the virtual world of the briefly popular virtual reality game, The Sims from 2000.
I faced two problems. One is I was really poor. I couldn't make a living as an artist. And number two is I didn't have a studio. In that game, I found that there is a location which looks very much like Hong Kong. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I can expand my studio in the virtual reality. So I started to make different environments, sometimes like dreams.
From there, she exports her completed work as JPEGs and cuts them into 3 parts.
And then I sent each part to different painters on Taobao. They don't know that actually they are finishing a painting. So when they finish, I combine them together. As you can see, the original one, the triptychs are not matched. So what I want to say is the ideal version of home, when it is translated in reality, is not exactly what I think.
This piece is called Home Sweet Home. This large installation titled Copy of Copy of Copy is a replica of the booth with her work in them. The paintings look the same, but a closer look shows they're not. She asked a painter to mimic the original triptychs onto a single canvas.
What I'm trying to say is through the process of copying the reality, which means like the game copy the reality, right? And then through copying and copying and copying, we're getting more far away from the reality.
Is your work a kind of commentary on society and the world we live in today?
Yes, it is. Because I guess we use social media every day, right? And then actually, I think the reality is filtered. So I think the real and unreal are getting more and more difficult to distinguish.
Another young artist, Kara Chin, featured her view on technology in our lives today, drawing on tropes from horror movies as well as movie theaters themselves.
I think that we all fear the unknown, and I think that technology today moves so fast that it's hard to keep up with what's going on and it's hard to understand it. So I think that most people can almost imagine an apocalyptic ending more easily than they can imagine a happy ending for technology. The show is full of these symbols that are the tropes in movies that are the lead up to disaster. So there's kind of like a low-level sense of unease and dread throughout the entire show, which is something that I do a lot in my work, because I think that's how I feel about technology, this sort of low underlying sense of trepidation.
The dioramas of the cinemas feature some of the litter that's often left behind by moviegoers.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about if you were, say, some alien civilization and you uncovered a cinema, what might you think it would be? And I kind of imagined they might mistake them as these sort of, I don't know, stadium churches or something. And I was thinking about franchise movies as almost like biblical text.
Kara said she also draws on manga comics and uses them in her art.
Yeah, the squiggly lines are, I used to read a lot of manga when I was a teenager. I think they're called adoro, lines of unease. And I wanted to make these works that sort of feel like they're like squirming or just emitting this like negative energy.
Okay, what is that?
It is an overhead display, such that you might find in the cinema that would have adverts. It's become this sort of object that looks more as if it's sort of like an object of worship or something. And it's got these seagulls on top because, again, it's a sort of an omen. They're used as this trope in disaster movies that something bad's about to happen when birds fly away.
According to a UBS report, China has surpassed the UK to take the #2 spot in the art world behind the US. The show drew 75,000 visitors over its 3 days. Gallerists and the community agree that Hong Kong's tax-free status for the art trade cements its place as a regional art hub.
And I feel that Hong Kong's got this incredible mix of a very sophisticated local kind of collecting base, but also it serves as a hub geographically central in Asia, where English and Chinese are commonly spoken. And also, well, the fact that it's a free port, right? That it's tax-free to transact, to import and export.
We as a brand truly believe that Hong Kong is the best location for art business to conduct in Asia. Obviously the tax-free benefits is very attractive, as well as being in the center geographically in Asia. That's very convenient, traveling in and out of the city, going to anywhere in the world within reasonable hours.
When we return, no antique is too old to fix. Stay with us. Welcome back to Pearl Magazine. Ancient artifacts often present themselves as witnesses to historic events and the people who were living then. But because of wear and tear and other reasons, many of these artifacts don't survive or are sometimes heavily damaged. Thanks to antique collectors and restorers who love history and art, many of these ancient pieces are now being preserved and can be seen by the public once again.
My father is a wooden artifacts collector. I helped my father when I was young, so I learned how to take care of them and repair the wooden artifacts.
Andy's father operated an antique shop. Under his father's influence, the 56-year-old has developed a great interest in antiques. When he was young, he followed a master to acquire the skills needed to take care of antiques. He says cleaning and polishing are important.
For instance, this is a yellow rosewood niche for a Buddha statue. I put the wood pieces in the right position, glue them or lock them with tenon together. The last and most important step is to polish the surface, cleaning and then wax coating. Sometimes we need to do wax coating a few times, and then keep polishing and rubbing it. Patience is needed. When I was young, it was very tiring because I fixed 2 to 3 items every day. Anyway, this is basic training to become an appraiser.
Andy loves Chinese history. He succeeded his father's business when he was 19 years old. He says antiques are evidence of an era worth keeping. He donated 2 pieces of Ming antique furniture bought in Japan to Hong Kong Palace Museum under his parents' names. They are among the first batch of collections being exhibited.
We purchased them 30 years ago for really high prices. The story behind was intriguing. In the era of Emperor Guangxu, a lord called Gong Wang and his family lost power during the downfall of the Qing dynasty. He sold off antiques like bronzes, ceramics, paintings, and writings. The biggest buyer was Yamanaka Company. It has offices in Japan, Paris, and the US. These antiques were shipped all over the world. Lacquered furniture is very hard to preserve. But because they were sold all over the world, they are being well kept by the buyers.
This lacquered altar table with flowers and plants in pots and vases pattern was damaged. 46-year-old Min Junrong, a lacquerware conservator, is now repairing the table. He graduated from Tsinghua University's Academy of Arts and Design and has been working as a restorer of antiquities in the Forbidden City. On this day, Min visits Andy to exchange their techniques on restoration.
Its natural wear and tear, a chipped corner, apply a new coat of lacquer. These mother-of-pearl inlays fell off. The condition is similar to the altar table donated to Hong Kong Palace Museum.
In ancient times, many arts and crafts items are coated with lacquer. Andy and Min went through some books of lacquerware to check out the style and the features, hoping to give the furniture a new life.
We just went through Mr. Hay's collected information and looked at the pictures of the black lacquer mother-of-pearl furnitures in the Palace Museum, compared the lines and craftsmanship. Also, Mr. Hay has another item. These collections help us understand more about the materials, craftsmanship and style.
This mother of pearl has a different tone and color. It is different from those laid in the other two pieces of furniture. He has more knowledge about the arts and crafts from the Ming Dynasty. I am just guessing most of the time. When I understand more about the antiques, then I know me, my father, and our masters will not be able to conserve these two altar tables, because we aren't qualified. We let Min Jinrong, the expert from the Forbidden City, handle the restoration. That's why we decided to donate these pieces of furniture to the Hong Kong Palace Museum.
Min Jinrong works at the Palace Museum in Beijing. Back in the beginning of 2022, Min and his colleagues took a few months to restore this huge bell, Bozhong. It is now exhibited in Hong Kong Palace Museum. Min still remembers the restoration experiences.
Repairing this Bozhong is a major restoration job. At that time, the red lacquered base was totally damaged. The lacquer was devastated. Everyone in the workshop took part in repairing this Bozhong. Now it is exhibited in Hong Kong Palace Museum, where East meets West. Many people would come to look at it and have an understanding of Chinese traditional culture. It's great.
Min flew from Beijing to Hong Kong to restore the donated collections. But he only had 1 month to finish the work. He says that made the task very challenging.
Focus on the lifting part of the potential problem area. For instance, the lifting of the lacquer coating will fall off if it is not stabilized. We soften the lacquer layers and glue and secure it. The warping and lifted up lacquer layers would probably come off. This is the area where we need to treat and conserve them.
Min says he uses this adhesive as consolidants to stabilize the lifted areas of lacquer.
We use fishmore glue to stabilize the lacquer layers. But the fishmore glue is very strong. It needs to be thinned with solvents and then inject the glue with syringe in the area. If the lifting area is minor, I just fill it with a brush.
Conservation doesn't mean restoring it to new. Min says even though cracks appear on vintage items, restoration need not be perfect so as to maintain its historical significance.
For instance, this area, it has a crack, but the condition is very stabilized, so we won't do anything to it. Our purpose of restoring the item is to preserve its history and significance, so we will preserve as much as we can. Our principle is that minimum intervention is the most effective conservation. Look at this piece through the microscopic lens. This part has probably been treated.
I also think so. Look at this area, also the color.
These minor cracks examine it from this angle.
Basically, it is a structural crack.
Jessie Liang is the conservator at the Hong Kong Palace Museum. She is responsible for the restoration work of exhibited items. Min says this is a valuable opportunity to work with Jessie.
Hong Kong Palace Museum's colleagues are very professional. We exchange our ideas within 29 days. The main principle of conservation is the same, but we also have different opinions on restoration. So it is fruitful.
They examined the cracks through the microspheric lens. Under the lens, the cracks are amplified by 50 times. Then they determine how it should be treated.
We just saw a major crack. This is a structural crack. There are some tiny lacquer grains besides the crack. The lacquer needs to be consolidated. The microscopic lens amplifies the areas which we can't see with our naked eye. Microscopic lenses are important tools for the restoration. You can put it down. It's still a bit thick. The surface needs to be treated, polish it, right, then it looks similar to others.
Apart from the cracks found in the altar table, the mother-of-pearl inlays have also disappeared. The restoration team has made mother-of-pearl inlays from the original material to fill the losses.
We brought this new mother-of-pearl. We look at them and compare the material used in the item under the microscopic lens. We found the quality, the tone of the shine are the same. That's why we use it to fill the losses. But we haven't completed the treatment. The effect will be much better after the treatment is completed.
The restoration of this lacquer altar table is nearly finished. Andy checks it and thanks the teams for their month-long effort. Andy says the conservation of antique lacquerware allows the public to appreciate ancient culture and continue that wisdom and knowledge to the next generation.
If we don't know the past, if we don't know the history, what can we learn from? Antique conservation is to keep the antiques in good condition, a healthy condition. We prolong its life and pass the heritage down from generation to generation.
That's our show for this week. Join us on Pearl Magazine, same time next week. Bye for now.